Hey everyone, welcome to Miss Nonetheless. I am Rachel.
And I'm Melissa. We're
already laughing because I started and then my throat made a weird throat noise.
Is that what it was?
And I was like, pause, because I'm definitely going to edit that out. Melissa's like, what are you doing?
That was such an awkward pause.
No one needs to hear that. Like a throat, like when your tummy grumbles, but your throat grumbles. That's worse than your stomach grumbling.
Yeah, it's not attractive. That's for sure.
It feels very wrong. So I have spared you because I am editing that out. But now I'm telling you about it. So I'm not sparing you too much. Oh my gosh.
Well, on that awkward beginning, I just want to say welcome back. We took the last 2 weeks off, as you know. Possibly we poked in and said hi unexpectedly from Rachel's. We don't know because we haven't done it yet.
Right, that is correct. Because we record in advance.
We always record in advance. We try to record 4 weeks in advance. I don't know if you guys know this, just because life is busy and crazy in between kids and schedules and migraines.
We would never get a weekly podcast out if we had to rely on getting it done every week. And
it would be really stressful. And
yes,
we really wanted to just love this and enjoy it and not have it be stressful. So
exactly.
So we're always recording way in advance and trying to remember, okay, when is this going to be released? And do we need to address anything?
That's right. And also when Melissa's like, you obviously know we took 2 weeks off. And if you're like, I didn't know, shame on you. Go back and listen. Just kidding. Just kidding.
If you weren't actively missing and grieving us those 2 weeks, I feel like we have to talk.
Are we even friends?
Right.
Also, we don't know all of you, so maybe we're not.
Yeah, it's okay.
But yeah.
All right.
What are we talking about today?
We are talking about when we need to say no. So this is when I wish it was interactive. Like, I want to show of hands. How many people struggle to say no in their life?
We'll just decide for them. We've decided most of you saying no.
I agree. And I think we struggle to say no to commitments. I think I think a lot of women who are moms struggle to say no to their kids. I do not have that trouble, and Rachel doesn't really have that problem, but I know a lot of people where they're like, I don't want to hurt them, or I don't want to make them mad, or I don't want to disappoint them, obviously we don't want to hurt and disappoint our kids. So it's not like we're walking around being like, we don't care about you.
Love hurting and disappointing.
Yes. Our goal every day is to see how much did we disappoint our kids today.
Right.
And obviously there's times it's hard to say no to your kids about something but not always. Anyways, okay. So moving on from that. I think it can be hard to say no to, like, if you work full time, to say no to new assignments at work that might take you away from your family more, or it's hard to just commitments in general. It's really easy to just say yes to everything.
It's hard to say no when someone asks you a favor.
Oh yes,
because you feel like you're going to let them down. They need you, or they wouldn't have asked you. But it's also like it's not your responsibility.
And I also think it's the hardest to say no when you don't actually have a quote unquote valid reason to say no.
You just need the margin in your life.
Your no is because you know that it will overstimulate you, or put you over the edge, or overwhelm you, or
you'll be less present for your kids. It's like you're home, you have nothing going on, but you know you need that time. You know you need to be there.
Exactly.
But people really struggle to say no.
Yep.
If they don't have a reason.
Yep. Agreed. Exactly. Okay. So let's just mull that part over. Why do you think that we have a hard time saying no?
People don't want to disappoint each other.
Yeah. That's probably what it really comes down to, right? Or guilt.
Yeah, I think so. It's like, well, if you asked me, you must need me. I'm personally not that person, because I assume people will say no to me, and I want them to say no to me if it doesn't work for them. So I'm like, I ask people with little to no expectations. I was thinking about, I think the only time I asked somebody something in the last 6 months that I genuinely would have been kind of devastated if they'd said no was when I asked Mom if she could come and be here when I had my shoulder surgery. And if she had said no for any good reason, I would have had to have it a different time. I wouldn't have been able to hold my grandkids at Christmas. It would have, it was not her responsibility to say yes, but that was the only time that I would have really struggled if she had to say no. Now, she came for 3 weeks and I never expected that. Yeah. I just needed her. I really just thought she might come for a week or something, but I really and genuinely ask people knowing they'll say no. And I'll even say feel free to say no, or no pressure. Right. And I actually do mean no pressure.
Yeah, exactly.
But most people really struggle with it. And I've heard that a lot.
Well, and I think that it goes both ways. I think that part of the reason Okay, I just had a thought. So you and it got like really quiet suddenly. Oh,
It's
you
because
muted
I
yourself.
muted it so I could shake up my iced coffee and drink it.
Like it's funny because there's no
Go.
background noise and you're on your side, except for there must be like a little bit of a hum or
Yeah, and when I
some,
mute it, it goes away.
just like cut out. And I was like, am
All
I
right,
talking to
should I
myself?
slurp right now?
Yes. I couldn't
Did you
even
hear
hear
it?
it. It was so
You didn't hear
disappointing.
it?
No,
Apparently, I don't need to be muting it.
apparently not.
Should I be louder?
Nothing.
What?
Zero.
That's incredible.
That
All
is
right. Well, I
incredible.
was slurping really loud. Like it was at the end of my coffee. And so I was like
What?
trying to get the rest of it.
Huh, that's good
All
to
right.
know. All right.
Man, oh man. What were we talking about? Welcome to our show. We have no idea what we're doing here.
We're going to talk about all the things that don't matter.
Yeah.
So
Actually, if we popped in on our 2-week break, that's probably what we talked about. Things that don't matter.
Probably.
And if we did not pop in, so sorry for even
Yes.
mentioning it.
Yes. Although if you didn't even notice we were gone, then you didn't even miss us. So never mind.
That's right. You're
I feel
lost.
bitter. I feel bitter that some people might not have even noticed that we were gone.
Maybe we should do an episode about that. I can't even hear you laughing. You just laughed as like, and I couldn't even hear it.
Can you hear that?
But I can hear you talking, but I couldn't hear you laughing. It was so sad.
I just laughed into the microphone.
No, I didn't hear it. Something's going on with our microphone, her microphone.
And it's my laugh. It gets cut off when I laugh.
Yes.
Do I
and
go
you have
to
the
like,
best laugh. She has a wipeout laugh. She does. Yeah, I can't hear you laughing.
That makes sense.
Pull back when you laugh. Okay. It goes, wow. That's what people expect to hear. Nope, I couldn't hear you.
Nothing.
Get really close. Now laugh. Do your wipeout laugh.
I literally just laughed.
Oh.
Can you hear that?
No, not one laugh.
Yeah, I put my mouth on the microphone and laughed.
You put your mouth on the phallus.
I did. I was trying.
You don't watch us on YouTube, you guys. Our microphones look like phalluses. We've mentioned it before.
Mm-hmm. But I'm really confused. Like, does
Mom, if you don't know what a phallus is, please do not Google it.
Don't any of you Google it. Anybody? Yeah.
Ask someone you trust.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, your laugh is what's cutting out. That's what's happening.
So the reason we're stopping this important conversation to have this non-important conversation is because we've been trying to figure out. I go missing. My sound goes missing, but we can't figure out why. But it literally must be my laugh.
It's because it is your laugh.
I just laughed into the microphone and you could not hear it.
That is so sad. You laugh and you're great.
Did you hear that?
Do it again. Yes.
Really?
Did you turn your gain all the way down?
I did it somewhere. I went to a direction.
Do you feel like we should edit this out? I wish we could say a show of hands. Do you think we should edit this out?
No, I think we're going to leave it. And now let's get back to our topic. Okay. And so if I ever go silent for a long period of time, it's because I'm laughing really hard.
Yes, that's right. So you need to watch us on YouTube because then you can see.
Then you'll see me.
Because she has the
laughing.
best laugh. People always have said after Melissa laughs, they expect to hear wipe out.
Yes, that's because I've told everyone that my whole life, and they're like, "Yes, I hear it."
That's correct. That's correct. Okay, what in the world were we talking about? Saying
talking about
why
saying
is it
no.
so hard?
Yes,
why is it
so hard? I think part of the reason it's so hard is not only do we feel guilty because, and we think, okay, this person needs us, but I also think it's because usually we get our feelings hurt when people say no to us.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think those kind of go hand in hand.
I don't want you to say no to me, so I better not.
So how can I say no to you? Yes.
Ooh, that's not good. If you're like, yeah, that's me. Nope, you got to stop that right now. That's so unhealthy for relationships. It's literally setting your relationship up for disaster.
It's true. I actually lost a relationship because of basically this type of interaction on her end. She always would say yes to me, and I couldn't always say yes for a lot of reasons. And I had learned a long time ago that I needed to not always say yes. And it ended up.
I want to know.
Say it on
here. You know, but nosy,
I will text you.
Nosy minds are inquiring. No, that's gossiping.
Oh, okay. Never mind. I won't tell you.
I'm doing one on that, and I'm worried. I'm like,
we're not prepared.
No, we don't gossip, but we do tell each other everything.
Mm-hmm. It's a fine line. Like, okay, we're not doing that one. Let's keep moving.
Oh my gosh, get it together. It's me. I'm the problem.
It's me.
It is. Yes. I'm the problem. It's me.
Yes, that song is right there.
Okay.
Made for you. Okay, so let's say no to things. Let's learn how to say no.
Yes,
let's be okay with people saying no to us. So if you are realizing that you really struggle to say no, but then if you realize the second part that, wow, I actually really am not okay when people say no to me, we really want you to take this to heart because it will make a huge difference in So we talk about anxiety, we talk about being overstimulated, we talk about needing to put up boundaries. Learning how to say no will help all of those things.
Yes.
Because the minute you're overcommitted, you're anxious, you're overwhelmed, you're overstimulated, you're drowning, you start being hard on your family. It obviously all comes out to the people you live with. Like nothing good comes from being overbooked. And especially when you're doing it out of feeling guilty.
Right.
Because then you get resentful.
Right.
And so
I did a whole message one time. I was asked to speak at a women's thing and on this topic. And what I said was basically, if you're saying yes to all these things that God did not call you to say yes to,
right?
How in the world will you have any margin to say yes to the thing he is calling you to?
Yep, exactly.
And you either will do it and you will do it horribly, or you will not be able to do it because you're so busy saying yes to things that don't matter.
Yep.
And they matter, but they're not what God has asked.
They're not for you.
Yes, they're not for you.
Well, and something that helped me learn to start saying no was when I started realizing that, but also realizing that if I said yes to something that was not meant for me, I just took it away from somebody that it was meant for, which means somebody who got life from that or joy from that, or they were praying and looking for this specific thing to do. And I just took it from them, and I'm not going to do it well, like you said, because I'm overwhelmed or whatever. It is bigger than just saying no. Like it is.
Can I give an example of that?
Yeah.
So my friend Jamie had offered, we were living in our condo while our house was being renovated. And she had offered to watch her dog, Maggie. Maggie's the sweetest, easiest dog in the world. Everyone knows that. She had offered to watch Maggie, but then they started putting an addition on their house and they have their own 2 dogs. And she was like, our backyard's going to be all torn up. And she was like, Rachel, I'm so sorry. I cannot do this because it's going to be too much for me. I know that to be true. And then I started reaching out and asking other people. And this woman that I hardly knew, but she was like on a prayer group I was in, said, I have literally been praying for an opportunity to watch a dog because I want a dog, but I don't feel I have room in my life to have a dog long term.
Yeah.
And I was like, love that. I need you to watch my dog for like 4 months. And she was like,
yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm in heaven. And she's always like, please let me watch your dog. You know, like she loves her and gets so excited when she gets to see her. And I'm like, my friend Jamie, I'm sure that was really hard for her.
Yeah.
Especially because she is like, because of her personality, I'm sure it was extra hard for her.
Yep.
And like, yeah, it did put me in a bind. Like I did then have to go find someone else. But in the end, it was the absolute perfect situation for the person who watched our dog and for us, because this person even lived closer to us and we could go over and visit our dog more easily. And so that's just a great example of someone said no, which I'm sure was hard for them, but it gave someone else the opportunity to do what they've been praying for.
Yes. I love that.
Yeah, me too.
And, you know, sometimes no is a partial no. So for example, when Rachel and I have been talking about doing this podcast for years, and a couple of years ago, I was ready and she was not. So it was just a no. So that was fine. So we paused. And now this past summer, she's like, I'm ready.
It was not now, because I knew we were going to do it at some point.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So it was a pause. That's what I said. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
I just must have missed that.
Yeah. And so this summer she was ready and I was not. And after lots of conversation and praying and communicating, it was basically like, she's like, well, what if I do all the background work and you just show up for the podcast? I'm like, that I can commit to. I can't. Eventually I want to commit to more, but where I have been in my health and stuff this past year, I just knew I couldn't commit to more. And
God had really put it on your heart to not commit to things for a season, which is difficult.
Very difficult.
And so you were like, I feel peace about showing up and recording, but I can't go against what God has told me I need to do in this season.
Well, yeah. Like, so about a year ago, I literally backed out of literally every commitment I was in, from work to volunteering.
Except your kids. You tried and could not get out of that one.
Nope. They still are. I did it. Okay. If you think I'm a mean mom, I did it to be present with my kids because I was struggling to be present anywhere. And so, anyway, so yes, so that I had to say no, but it ended up being able to be like only 99% no.
Right. Yes, it's true. And what a blessing this has been for us. If people feel blessed by our podcast, that's great. That's just like cherry on the top, because we feel so blessed by doing this.
Yeah. Well, in the way Rachel was like, worst case, you and I get to just look at each other and talk for like 30 minutes to 60 minutes a week and just chat. I'm like, you're right. And that's like amazing, because we don't
60 because we record 2, not because we ever do a podcast for 60 minutes.
Although this one's going to push it with all of our tangents.
It's not going to push it to 60. We only get the 40 free minutes.
I know. This is why we don't pay for Zoom. So we have to shut it off at 40 minutes.
We haven't even gotten to what the Bible says about it. For heaven's sakes, I am interrupting us constantly.
So if you're wondering, is it even biblical to say
Yes.
no to people? We're going to tell you a big fat yes, it is
Yes.
biblical.
Mhm.
And here are, I'm just going to list off some examples. Jesus said no to the enemy when the enemy wanted him to turn stone into bread to feed Jesus's hunger. Jesus was like, no. He said no to putting God to the test when Satan was like, put God to the test. Jesus was like, no. He said no to man's agenda and timetable. In John, it says, after the people saw the sign Jesus performed, they began to say, surely this is the prophet who has come into the world. Jesus, knowing that they intended to come and make him king by force, withdrew again to a mountain by himself. So their agenda, they had their own agenda for what they wanted to do with Jesus, and he said no and left.
It's not what I'm supposed to be doing, which is exactly what we were talking about.
Exactly. Yeah.
God had a plan for him, and that was not it.
He knew what his purpose was here, and the people were going to try to fast forward it and go in a direction that was not the intention. Yeah. Jesus said no to pleasing the crowd. In Matthew, it says no to giving a miraculous sign to the disbelieving leaders. They wanted him to prove they were disbelieving. They wanted him to do something miraculous to prove. And he was like, no, I'm not going to play that game with you. He said no to pleasing his family.
That's a big one.
Everyone say that out loud. He said no to pleasing his family. Good job, Rachel.
Thank you. Turn to your neighbor and say.
Yes, it's seriously, you guys. I think that saying no to our family, whether it's our kids, our spouse, our parents, our siblings, like especially if there's years of unresolved discord or hurts or like people pleasing with each other, it is a place where there's a lot of unspoken expectations, and it's easy to just keep saying yes because you don't want to disappoint or you're trying to please or whatever. Jesus said no to his family. He was not willing to stop his mission to please his family. He knew his purpose here.
Yeah. Well, they thought he was crazy, and they're like, come on, we'll take you home. And he's like, no, I'm not going with you. I'm staying here. Who is my mother? Who is my brother? Who is my sister? You know, it's like, if you can't be with me, then I'm going to stay with these people and or be on board with me, I guess I should say.
Yeah. Jesus did not involve himself in all business. So in John, it says, someone in the crowd said to him, teacher, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me. And Jesus replied, man, who appointed me to judge or to be an arbiter between you? Like, he's like, what? I'm not here for that.
This is not my business.
I'm going to just move on and go where I'm going. I mean, obviously, Jesus was always willing to help in so many ways, but those small catty things, he was like, yeah, no, I'm going to not get involved.
I actually always tell my kids when like one kid's in trouble and all the other ones are like, what'd they do? I'm like, that's not your business.
Yeah, same.
My child in
if
trouble,
they want to tell you, they can tell you, but I'm not going to do it.
I'm not going to sit and that's honestly like me teaching my kids not to gossip. It's not your business.
Yep.
That is, it's not for me to share. Okay.
Exactly.
Sorry. That's a little side note.
So, and Jesus said no to his own desires. You guys, if you don't know this, when he was getting ready to, like, when everything had started for him to be killed on the cross, he spent time in the garden with God alone. He cried so hard. He bled tears, and he was asking God if there was another way. He knew that this was the only way. And yet he was like, is there another way? And there wasn't.
It was not his desire. It was not his desire. Experience what he had to live through.
The terrible pain, because he had a physical human body. So he felt everything we would have felt. So if you find yourself thinking, no, I can say yes to everything because it's selfish of me to say no.
Or that it's sinful to say no.
Or it's sinful. You're being a martyr. I'm going to be honest with you, because it is clearly, we just listed those are just a few examples from the Bible where Jesus, his example was that it's okay to say no. It's okay to know what you're supposed to be doing and not get off course just because other people around you want you to do that. And so, so then the other thing is learning how to say no, recognizing it's okay. But then there's like another step to it, whereas I think it's okay to say no and leave it at that. Like if someone asks me, hey, can you babysit my kids next week? And maybe I can physically, like maybe I have time, but maybe those days were going to be a margin for me to get things done around the house or do grocery shopping or rest. Like I'm going to read a book. And
that sounds like a good podcast episode. If you haven't listened to it, go back and do it.
And so if I say no and then start explaining all the reasons why, well, like, okay, so I was just gone this weekend and
Mhm.
it was a girls' weekend, but it's been planned for a long time. So it wasn't that that's more of a priority. It's just that I already had it on the books. And
Mhm.
so even though we had so much fun, I was up really early and I was up late. So I'm tired and I have to work, all next weekend, like for 4 nights in a row. So I really just, okay, I do not need to do all that. If
Mhm.
if someone says, can you watch my kids? And I can say, oh, I would love to, it's not going to work for me.
Right.
End of story. Because
Mhm.
to be honest with you, when we start explaining all the reasons why, especially when it's a long explanation, if you're like, I'm
Mhm.
out of town, I can't. Well, obviously
Right.
that's a valid
Simple.
explanation, or I'm
Right.
working, I can't. But when we start going into all this, it almost feels patronizing almost. I think if I'm the person when someone's talking to me and sharing all the reasons, I start to feel it almost hurts me more than if they just
Yeah.
say,
I
can't.
don't know that I would describe it as patronizing. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying I
Mhm.
don't know that I personally would describe it as that, but it definitely makes me feel worse.
Yeah. There's
And
just something.
it's like you could have just said no.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like
And maybe patronizing is not the right word, but it
I'm
makes
not
me feel
saying it's not the
something.
right word for you. It's something. There's a word that goes there. We just don't know what it is. No, I'm not saying it's not the word. I'm just saying I personally wouldn't say I feel patronized, but I
Mhm.
don't feel good.
Yeah.
It
Well,
feels
I definitely feel like I'm in the way. Now I feel like, oh, I
yes.
shouldn't have even asked, because your no isn't what bothers me. It's all of the things. It's like I've just stressed you out by asking you something that
Yes.
I didn't know I didn't know the
Yes.
answer, but I was okay with no. But now I feel like I did something
Yes.
wrong.
Like I have burdened you by
Yeah.
asking you,
Hmm.
by you explaining all the million things that went through your head. It's like we all do that. We have a million
Right.
things that we need to process through, but like
Hmm.
telling the other person about them sometimes is just more hurtful. And I've
Yeah.
done this. So I did this so long and I still
Hmm.
probably do it on
Yeah. I'm
accident.
sure I do too.
But yeah, but it's like I have worked really hard to not do this consistently
Hmm.
because I know it doesn't feel good. I do have someone in my life who always has to tell me the 100 things they have going on day to day. And I'm like, I don't need to know that. You've already
Hmm.
told me. I know you're busy. Now
Hmm.
I feel worse. I'm busy too. I'm not telling you the 100 things I'm doing.
Yeah.
Now, I will tell a friend, oh my gosh, you will never believe all that I've done in the last 2 days.
Of
That's
course. That's
totally
different. Yeah.
different.
Hmm.
And it's not that we can't ever tell people what's going on in our life or that we
Right.
need margin or rest, but like, yeah, it's and Melissa was like, it's not really biblical. We don't have anything in the Bible to back this up, but just from human experience, we are two people, and I know other people in our life would agree. It sometimes just doesn't feel good. And so it
Yeah.
might be something you've never even considered. And a lot of people feel like they owe someone the explanation.
Yeah.
And it's like we don't owe someone the
Hmm.
explanation.
Hmm.
If I say like, hey, can these 3 girls come spend the night with my daughter, and one friend's like, that just won't work for our family, thank you, I'm a little
Right.
nosy, so I'm like, oh, what do you have planned? But the truth is they might just be having a family night. Their kids
Hmm.
might have gotten in trouble and she doesn't
Right.
want my daughter to know that. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's not my business is really
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah.
And sometimes we can make people feel like all the things they have going on are a lot more important than us, even though if I
Yes.
ask someone, let's say I ask you, Melissa, can you watch my kids for a night?
Mhm.
I know my kids are important to you. I know I'm
Mhm.
important to you. But if you're like, well, I have this and I have this and I have this and I have this and I have this, it's like, oh, now I feel like those matter more, even though you already had them scheduled, even though,
Right.
and of course, I know it doesn't
Right.
communicate that, or it doesn't
It can
mean that, but it
feel
does
that way
kind of
sometimes.
feels like it communicates that.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
know that from being on the other side. It's like,
Right.
oh, okay, you could have just said no.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yep. So, yeah, so I think that I mean, I guess I'm ready for a challenge. Are you ready for a
yeah,
challenge?
I'm ready for a challenge too.
My challenge would be, okay, you might not even know you struggle to say no because it's just so much a part of your
Mm-hmm.
daily life of saying yes to things. But one way you know that it's too much is when things are regularly feeling overwhelming to you, things that you enjoy, things that you would normally be excited about, but it's all feeling overwhelming. It means you've said yes to too many things, whatever that means, whether it's scheduled things, whether it's, watching people's kids, whether it's working, whatever it is. Like, so again, we are always saying, just kind of take a step back and look at the next like 2 weeks of your life. What do you have going on? And looking at your calendar, I'm not saying you back out of things at this point.
Mhm.
That's not
Right.
because you don't want to leave people high and dry,
Saying
but
no is not undoing a commitment.
correct.
It's
Starting
being
at the
careful,
beginning.
yeah, not
Mhm.
to overcommit.
Yep. And so I would look at your schedule for the next 2 weeks or a couple weeks and be like, what did I say yes to that I probably shouldn't have? And keep that in the back of your mind so that as you move forward, you're okay. You're more careful in saying yes or no. And sometimes you just need a day. Like can I, like, today I am feeling on top of the world. I can do anything and everything. So I could say yes to everything. But tomorrow, suddenly I'm like, oh man, that was not a good idea. I should have paused. And so, like, one thing I actually try to do is when I'm saying yes or no to commitments is to not commit if I'm on a high or a low.
Yeah.
Either
yes, I agree.
Because if I'm on
that
a high,
has bit me in the butt.
Yep. And same with if I'm in a low. Like today I'm exhausted and I've been exhausted for 3 days. I'm going to say no to everything that comes along my way. But if I like gave it another day, I might be like, oh, actually, I really could have done that and I would like to do that. So
right. That's we talked about the overstimulated. Maybe I'll get back to you in this many days, or maybe ask me again at this many days.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I mentioned in the last episode that I asked my friend about doing an anxiety podcast with us, and she didn't answer right away. And she said, I'm drowning today in these things. Maybe ask me again in a few days.
Yeah.
And I love that she had that insight to know it was not it was not accurate of her to say no.
Yes.
But then she did end up saying no.
Right.
Yeah.
But she wanted to do it with a clear mind, not with an overwhelmed, drowning
Exactly. Exactly. Yes.
All right.
So examine your schedule. Are there things you've said yes to that you probably shouldn't have? And then I added, what kinds of things do you feel are hard to say no to?
Yeah.
And I feel like we need like one more little, like, how can you grow in this area, or like something less generic? Like, how can you learn from Jesus' example? Or,
well, I mean, I would say that, where is your deep rooted belief about saying no? Do you really think it's wrong? Because if you really think it's wrong, you need to start there. And like, if Jesus said no, why would it be wrong for us to say no?
Exactly. Okay.
And so
where does your deep rooted belief and saying no come from?
Yep.
Time to rewire that.
Yep.
We're going to talk about that next week.
We are.
All right. I thought this was great.
Yes, I hope you stayed with us because we were all over the place.
We could title this The One with All the Nonsense. And as it turns out, it's not even longer than our other ones. I feel like God changed time for us.
I think he did.
Like he parted the seas of time, because this doesn't make any sense. I feel like we should have run out of time a long time ago.
We should have. And here we have 8 minutes left.
That's right.
We can just keep on chattering.
In case any of you don't know, we do not pay for the Zoom, and it's not because we're too cheap. It's because we know it will keep us in check. You only get 40 minutes on the free Zoom. Yep. And we're like, oh, that will always keep us on check to keep ours around 30 minutes.
Yep. I said that earlier, but now we have said it twice. So that those of us who didn't hear me the first time, now they can.
You said it earlier? I knew that we mentioned we don't pay for it, but I didn't think we mentioned why.
Well, it was probably amongst a whole lot of other chaos. So
my brain was like the whole time, like, what is going on with me? I feel like we should just record another one because we're just like on this this little weird high. People are like, please don't. Please don't record another one. People have already stopped listening.
Yes.
We're done with the challenge.
All right. We'll let you go.
Goodbye. Two in the world listening still.
Yes.
Okay. Reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you on social media. We'd love to hear what you're enjoying about this. Also, if you have not taken time to review us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please do that right now. Yes. We love, not only is it helpful for us to read reviews, it's helpful for other people considering our podcast. But the way that like the algorithm works is that the more reviews we get, the more it spits us out into people's possible like suggested for you, right?
Yes. Yep.
So the more people watch something on Netflix, the more it gets spit out. And like, how much do I benefit from seeing other people's suggestions? Very much.
Very much.
So if you like this podcast, please review it, but only if you plan on giving us 5 stars.
We don't want none of your 4 stars and below.
Yeah, 4 is dumb. So 4 is fine. But if you do it, know that we know who you are.
Are you threatening people?
No, I wasn't.
I know who you are.
I just want you to know.
You live.
We know who. Yeah, exactly. My pastor, Scott, he's a bit ridiculous. And whenever he's like, it's Christmas time and we're like getting the gifts for the families in need, he's like, listen, if you don't bring these back, I will come to your house and I will cut you. And I'm always like, Scott, that is too far. But he's like, listen, these kids need our gifts. Like if you take their name, no one else is buying their gifts. Exactly. But I'm like, it's a bit aggressive. So I was not threatening. I just wanted you to know women don't like to know that people know when they've complained about that.
It's not anonymous.
It's not anonymous. All right.
We are officially going to be done.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Yes. Okay. Bye, guys.